Be Your Spirit, a guide to happiness and self-realization based on the Yoga Sutras. Chapter 1, Introduction. Spirituality involves a belief in a spiritual dimension. The term spirit refers to the non-material, which is an aspect of reality that does not obey the laws of the material world. The most basic characteristic of spirituality is a belief in an unseen spiritual dimension that permeates physical reality. This spiritual dimension exists everywhere. Some people understand it as God, while others view it as a form of energy. It does not matter what you call the spiritual dimension. It cannot be defined by words or understood through logical thought. Belief in a spiritual dimension is based on direct experience. Some people are naturally connected to the spiritual and begin to have spiritual experiences at a very early age. Others are blind to the spiritual and dismiss spiritual experiences as coincidence, imagination, or distorted perception. A second characteristic of being spiritual is that it involves a personal relationship with the spiritual dimension. It is your personal connection to the spiritual world that makes your spirituality real. Otherwise, it is just an idea. The clearer your experience of the spirit world, the more influence it will have on the meaning of events in your life. A final characteristic of spirituality is that it involves a belief that you have an individual spirit. The concept of an individual spirit is paradoxical in that it is both individual and part of a larger spiritual dimension. If the larger spiritual dimension was an ocean, your spirit is like a droplet falling from a wave. As the droplet falls through the air, it is your individual spirit. When the drop hits the water, your individual spirit ceases to exist and merges with the ocean. Although your spirit is separate from the larger spiritual dimension, it remains connected to it. Your spirit is your connection to spirituality. Your spirit provides you with access to knowledge, healing power, strength, wisdom, and joy. Understanding the relationship between yourself and your spirit is fundamental to many Eastern spiritual traditions. This understanding provides insight into who you are, what you are, and the meaning of your life. Eastern traditions call this process self-realization. Self-realization is based on the concept that there is a true self and a false self. The false self is your conscious mind. The true self is not easily defined. If it were, then self-realization would be a simpler task. Generally, the true self is understood to be your spirit. Self-realization is a process of shifting your identity from your conscious mind to your spirit. An analogy that illustrates the point is of a king who develops amnesia. Unbeknownst to his subject, he wanders out from his palace to the countryside. In order to support himself, the king finds work as a laborer on a farm. Eventually, the king grows to believe he has always been a farm worker. The king's belief that he is a farm worker is similar to your identification with your false self. If the king recovers his memory, he would know his true self and return to the palace as king. You are a spirit having an earthly experience. The problem is, you've forgotten that you are spirit and now identify with your conscious mind. The path to self-realization involves looking past your conscious mind to see your spirit. Self-realization is an experience of being fully present in the world as your spirit. The path to self-realization consists of practices directed at helping you become spirit. It is not the purpose of this book to argue for the existence of spirit or a spiritual dimension. That is for you to discover on your own. This book focuses on self-realization. It is a step-by-step guide to help you realize the presence of spirit in your life. The ultimate goal is to reap the benefits of self-realization, which are happiness, health, and wisdom. The path to self-realization. Of all the Eastern traditions, yoga has the most developed teachings regarding self-realization. Yoga is a branch of Hinduism, the world's oldest religion. Yoga dates back to cave monasteries that existed in the Himalayas 5,000 years ago. Today, yoga is generally known as a form of exercise involving physical poses and stretches. Ancient yoga had little to do with these postures. The yogis of the Himalayan monasteries focused upon meditation as a means for achieving higher states of consciousness and spiritual development. The Yoga Sutras offers a concise step-by-step guide to self-realization. The yoga master Patanjali wrote the Yoga Sutras in approximately 200 BCE. The general framework for Be Your Spirit is based upon the practices and principles found in the Yoga Sutras. As much as possible, these ancient teachings are illustrated through modern science in the form of psychology, neuropsychology, and physics. The practices presented in the following chapters are based on the concept that the path to self-realization is primarily a process of removing obstacles and distractions. You do not need to add to yourself to be your spirit, but rather take away. Self-realization involves removing those things that you are doing that separate you from your spirit. When you remove these obstacles, your spirit naturally arises. The Yoga Sutras, Chapter 4.3, self-realization does not come from action or learning, but instead by the removal of obstacles, similar to the way a farmer removes a sluice gate to irrigate a field. The farmer's field has shallow indentations running in between the lines of crops. Near the field runs a stream. When the farmer wishes to irrigate the crops, he raises a sluice gate at the stream, which allows water to flow down and irrigate the field. The analogy indicates that there are things that you are doing that block your spirit from fully entering into your life. Remove these blockages, and your spirit will fill your life. One way to think of the blockages to self-realization is to imagine a sunbeam entering a room through a small hole in a wall. The room is otherwise dark except for this ray of light. Now a jar of water is placed near the hole, blocking the sunbeam. If the water in the jar is pure, the light will shine through. In contrast, if the jar is full of floating impurities, then the light will be blocked and the room will be dark. Your spirit is the sunbeam, and your blockages are those objects floating in the jar. Clarify the water, and your spirit will shine into your life. Blockages to self-realization occur at the level of social relationships, thoughts, and physical health. At the social level, blockages develop from relationships that are characterized by anger, jealousy, fear, or violence. Such problems drain time and energy away from pursuits that can bring you closer to your spirit. At the mental level, blockages come from emotions and thoughts that disturb the mind. When your mind is disturbed, you are blocked from experiencing your spirit. Blockages at the level of the physical body can become major distractions. Physical pain, lack of mobility, disease, or fatigue can be significant obstacles on the path to self-realization. The healthier your lifestyle, the less likely you will be distracted by physical problems. Taoist sages of ancient times placed great value on health and longevity, since they believe it took many years to reach self-realization. Why seek self-realization? Why bother with changing your life to have greater connection with your spirit? Self-realization is a state of awareness characterized by clarity, authenticity, and serene happiness. The ultimate goal of seeking self-realization is to find meaningful happiness. Self-realization is more of an orientation towards a goal than a state of accomplishment. Meaningful happiness is found on the journey to self-realization rather than arrival at its destination. The attainment of self-realization is not as important as the benefits you gain by seeking it. Adopting a lifestyle that minimizes the barriers to self-realization provides you with clarity of mind, clarity of body, and a relationship with the world that is marked by harmony. Clarity of mind brings you self-understanding, serenity, and an increased ability to focus attention. Clarifying your body will improve your health, vitality, and mood. Living in harmony with the world will benefit your health, safety, and friendships.